Landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess, and let me explain the real flat earth theory to you. Alright, the earth isn't flat, but it needs everybody to think it's flat so it can hide from the sun in a stack of nickels. But, do me a favor and hit that like button or the government will find out that you know that.
FBI, open up!
And for the last week we've been carrying the Civivi Mini Asticus. Okay, so this is one that I was excited to get my hands on. A buddy of mine got one, sent me a picture, and I was like, I have to have that. So let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I'm too kind to you. So, first things first and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It is reversible. We have got the rub brass scales on here. We got a flipper tab. Let's flick the bean. Uh-oh. There we go. And we got 3.25 inches of 10CR15 steel. And, of course, I had to get it customized. So, like I said, this is one that I've been excited to carry. And, yeah, I mean, it's a Civivi. I hadn't carried a Civivi in a while, so I figured I was overdue for one. And, unfortunately, this thing is discontinued. You might be able to find one with the rub brass on Blade HQ. I don't know if they still have them, but if this grabs you by the short and curlies, it's worth taking a look to see if they still have some. You know, and this thing carried really well. It carried really well, you know, getting stuff out of the pocket around the knife itself was okay. Wasn't too shabby. You know, getting it out of the pocket and deploying it was also very nice. The dingus end of the pocket clip is raised up well. It is a Civivi pocket clip. It's plenty strong. That pocket clip is heaps good. I'd probably give that an 8 out of 10 out of strength on that thing. And, yeah, it did what I needed it to really well. You know, we fed her some cardboard and it cut through that really nice, and we gave it the plastic on the pallets, and for the most part it cut through that really well. You know, if you're new here and you haven't heard this yet, unlike most of the people here, when you're doing the plastic wrap on the pallets, you know, you go through the middle of that wrap where there's a bunch of layers, and a decent edge will cut through it, and a good edge will cut through it really easily. You get down to that second layer, or the bottom layer, at the very bottom where you got one layer wrapped around. If you've got a good edge, it'll cut through it all right. You'll see some hang up and tearing, but if you've got a great edge, it'll blast through it like you're cutting water. Generally speaking, this cut through it easily enough. There was some hang up and there was some tearing, but it wasn't bad. So, you know, the edge, I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. Let's take a look at where the edge is sitting now, because it started off heaps good. It started off plenty sharp. And there's a little bit of drag on it. Little bit of drag, little bit of resistance, nothing too bad. That's still a nice clean cut. Now let's get the edge sharpness tester out that you guys kindly provided through your super chat donations and channel memberships and what have you. So thank you for that. I will always be grateful for the support. And how this works, if you haven't seen it, is it measures the number of grams of force it takes to cut through the wire on this calibrated test clip. So let's see what we got. Everyone stand back. I'm arming the boy. I probably did do the house explosion on that one. I haven't decided yet. But let's take one sample where it took the most use. 300. Oh, so let's wipe this blade off. Let's see if there's anything sticking to it. And we're going to take another shot at that, because that 300, you guys saw how clean the cut was on the paper there. That's not a 300 point edge. And this is where, you know, there's some discussion about these edge sharpness testers, and, you know, they're not the most precise, scientifically accurate, like, you know, thing on the planet. But these give you a good ballpark idea where the edge is sitting, especially if you've tested a bunch of these on your tester. It'll give you an idea where it's sitting compared to other edges that you've tested. No! $2.39. So that's still a little bit crunchy. It's not terrible, but seems like that is definitely a bit of wear and tear on the edge, which, okay. So that thing is kind of hard to... You can fake those numbers, but when you're faking it, you're trying to pop it as low as possible, and that's where you're, like, super fast on that thing. But it looks like there is some wear and tear on the edge. There's not much I can do about that. This is 10CR15. It's a steel that I haven't used before. But I am looking forward to Cardboard Slayer on this thing. I'm looking forward to Cardboard Slayer, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it does on that, because we haven't We haven't tested it before, but I was also told that I believe it's VG10, just under a different name. This is like the Chinese version of VG10. If memory serves, that's the right steel. So, you know, if it performs like VG10, then we should see a couple of good hours out of it. As long as the steel is heat treated well, I'll be happy with that. You know, a little bit on the expensive side. I think I spent something like 45 bucks because, you know, with the stuff with the QSP penguins, with them being terrible, you know, I emailed Blade HQ. You guys heard that before. But I think all in, this was about 60 bucks before the $20 gift card was applied. And, you know, 45 of that was the cost of the knife itself. Another 13 for the engraving right here, the laser etch with the knives, I guess, on it. So for like 45 bucks, VG10 is okay given the brass and everything else on it. You know, this is one that I carry for looks, and it, you know, it did impress the non-knife guys as well as the knife guys, so I'm happy with that. But the rub brass does not like being in your pocket with other stuff. Let's see. Yeah, you can kind of see here where all the dings and scratches and all that came from the keys in my pocket. They definitely tore up the rubbed finish on this, which thank God I wasn't worried about treating this as a shelf queen. Like, it's a bit on the budget side for a shelf queen. However, there's stuff like this where I fall in love with the way it looks and I want to protect the looks. Thank God I expected this to happen before I started carrying it, because I'd be heartbroken. I would be heartbroken. Like, I'm a little bummed out that it looks like this now, but of course, we got it so I could carry it to show you guys. You know, the fund from the YouTube channel is what paid for this. So, you know, I can't be too bent out of shape about it. It is going to go in the drawer with the better stuff that I like more. You know, I've got like the graveyard, a big box full of stuff we've used up. I've got a drawer with the stuff that I don't feel like beating on, and I got a drawer of the nicer stuff. You know, the nicer stuff that I like showing off, but I'm not so worried about carrying and beating on it. So, you know, overall, at the end of the day, all in, I'm really happy with this thing. I'm really happy with how it carried, how it worked, how it looks. Like, this is borderline the total package. Now, if the blade steel was a bit nicer, I would definitely be putting this at like a 9 out of 10 for, you know, value, everything else. Like, D2 with a good heat treatment would have been a lot better than 10CR15. But, you know, the blade steel is the only thing that I have a little minor gripe with, because, you know, you can get cool stuff like this with D2 or something like that for about the same price point, you know, but it's not like a big sticking point, you know, and we are going to do Cardboard Slayer with it in a couple of weeks here, so we'll find out how it really does. But, you know, as far as it sits right now, I really like this thing. I'm real happy with it. I'm glad I got it. And, you know, again, it describes you by the short and curlies. Take a look around, see if you can find one still floating around out there, because they are discontinued. So, I can't think of a lot else to add about this thing before I'm holding y'all hostage. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got live streams, regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this thing or anything else. And of course, we're going to plug some products from friends of the channel. They're not affiliate links. I don't get paid for them. I'm just supporting some friends. And I do have my Amazon shop linked. You don't have to use it, but it's the easiest way I found to show you some cool stuff that I found recently. So here you go. And as always, we are going to link up to Cutting Lacey EDC's Diamond Emulsion if you want to step your stropping game up, make it easier to sharpen your blades, and keep them sharp. Wonderful product. I use it myself on every single knife I sharpen now. And we are going to link off to Mad Yocco's Wax. If you want to protect your blades that are prone to corrosion, if you want to darken up the color of your micarta, or take care of a million other things, he is going to be on Blade Binge with his wax. Alright, just supporting some friends of the channel and some small businesses. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.